In this example, I need to solve the right triangle shown below, and I need to round the answers to the nearest tenth. Here is my right triangle, and what methods do we know that allow us to solve for parts of a right triangle? Well, quickly reviewing, the tools to solve parts of a right triangle are: the first one is the Pythagorean Theorem. Given two sides, we can use it to find the third side. Next, the sum of the angles of a triangle is 180 degrees. Given two angles, we can use it to find the third angle. And lastly, trigonometric functions, which we can use to find either a side or an angle. Now, looking at my diagram over here, each of the angles is already labeled, but the sides are not. So remember, the side opposite angle A is side A, which we write with a lowercase a. Side opposite angle B is lowercase b. Side opposite angle C is side C, which we write with a lowercase c. Now, can I use the sum of the angles equals 180? No, because I only know the value of angle C, which is 90 degrees. To use this, I need to know two angles. Can I use the Pythagorean theorem? Was I given two sides? Yes, I know side A and side C. So the first thing I'm going to use is the Pythagorean theorem to find my missing side B. So remember, the Pythagorean theorem says a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A is 31.9, so I have 31.9 squared plus b squared equals c squared, which is 52.7 squared. Now, to get the b squared by itself, I'm going to have to subtract 31.9 squared from both sides of this equation. So I get b squared equals, now I need to get my calculator. Here is my calculator. It's a TI-84 plus. So to work this out, I have 52.7 squared minus 31.9 squared, and that equals 1759.68. Now to get b, I take the positive square root of this, because remember, b is the side of a triangle, so it has to be positive. So what is the square root of this number? Use second x squared, which gives me the square root. I'm just going to use the answer key that's in blue above the negation key. So it's second negative. And now all I have to do is hit enter. And I need to round to the nearest tenth. That's the position of the 9. The 4 is going to leave the 9 alone. So I know that b equals 41.9. So I found the unknown side. I need to find the two unknown angles, angle A and angle B. Does it matter which one I find first? No, I'm going to find angle A first. And looking at angle A and side A is the side that is opposite angle A. And side C is the side that's opposite the right angle, so it is the hypotenuse. So I need to set up a trig function involving angle A, and side C. Which trig function involves opposite and hypotenuse? So looking at the mnemonic, you can see sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So that's the trig function that I'm going to use. the sine of angle A equals the opposite side divided by the hypotenuse. What is the opposite side? It is 31.9, and you're going to divide it by the hypotenuse, which is 52.7. So now, how do I find angle A? Well, angle A is the inverse sine or arc sine of this ratio of 31.9 divided by 52.7. So going to my calculator, the first thing I need to do is check the mode. The calculator is already in degrees, that's fine. So go back to the home screen by getting quit, which is second mode. And now I need to put this in the calculator. The inverse sine key is in blue above the sine key. So you hit second sine. There's my inverse sine or arc sine function of 31.9 divided by 52.7, close parentheses, hit enter. So here's my answer for angle A, rounding to the nearest tenth. That's the position of the 2. The 5 is going to round the 2 up to a 3. So I'm going to get 37.3 degrees. That is the value for angle A. The last thing I need to do is find angle B. There are two different ways of finding it. The quickest is to use the sum of the angles of a triangle is 180 degrees, as I now know angle A and I always knew angle C. But if I'd have messed up finding angle A, then if I use it to find angle B would also be incorrect. I prefer to use the given information of side C, side A, and set up a trig function for my angle B. Now remember, in this case, A is not the opposite side for angle B. A is going to be the adjacent side. But C is always going to be the hypotenuse. So which trig function involves adjacent and hypotenuse? That's cosine. So the cosine of angle B is the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. The side adjacent to angle B is side A, which is 31.9, divided by the hypotenuse of 52.7. So angle B is just the inverse cosine function or arc cosine function of this ratio of 31.9 divided by 52.7. So putting this in the calculator, inverse cosine is above the cosine key, so hit second cosine of 31.9 divided by 52.7, close parentheses, hit enter. Here's my answer, round to the nearest tenth, that's the 7 position. 4 will not round it up, so my answer is angle B is 52.7 degrees. So now I've solved this right triangle, and the last thing I can use is the sum of the angles is 180 degrees to check my answer. So I'm going to add up the 3 angles in this triangle. I have 37.3 plus 52.7 plus 90. Does it equal 180? Yes. That's a good indication that these two answers here are correct.